The unexpected message. In the quiet halls of the United Earth Council's headquarters, the hum of technology was interrupted by a single sharp alert. The lights in the room dimmed slightly, and a red holographic projection appeared in the center of the command table. It was a distress signal, an interstellar one. Commander Elisa Carter, a seasoned officer of the Earth Space Defense Force, leaned forward. The signal wasn't just random noise. It was deliberate, urgent, and alien. The language was unrecognizable at first, but Earth's advanced translation algorithms quickly got to work. Distress signal from an unknown source, the AI voice announced. Message decoded. Help us. The enemy is unstoppable. Only the Deathworlders can save us. Coordinates attached. A heavy silence fell over the room. The term Deathworlders was not one humanity had chosen for itself, but it had been whispered across the galaxy by alien species. Humans were considered Deathworlders because Earth, their home, was a dangerous planet by galactic standards. The environment was harsh, the wildlife could be deadly, and humans themselves had a history of surviving and thriving in extreme conditions. But no species had ever openly asked for Deathworlder help. What do we know about the source? Carter asked, her voice calm but tense. The hologram shifted to display a star map. The coordinates led to a distant, uncharted part of the galaxy. It was far from any known trade routes or inhabited systems. Minimal data available, the AI replied. The signal originates from deep alien space, high probability of hostile conditions, no known human activity in the region. The room buzzed with whispered conversations. Alien distress calls were rare, and this one carried an air of desperation. To call for Deathworlders, humans, meant the situation was dire. Admiral Jonas Reed, a grizzled veteran with a reputation for caution, broke the silence. This could be a trap, he said, his voice gruff. An unknown species sending coordinates into uncharted space. We've seen ambushes like this before. Carter nodded. It's possible. But if it's real and we ignore it, we're letting an entire civilization face annihilation. We can't just turn a blind eye. The debate grew heated. Some argued for immediate action, driven by humanity's unspoken role as a rising galactic power. Others demanded caution, fearing a loss of resources and lives. What about the message itself? Carter asked, trying to refocus the discussion. Why would they call us? Why specifically Deathworlders? The room fell silent again as everyone considered the question. Humanity's reputation across the stars was both a blessing and a curse. They were respected for their resilience, but also feared for their aggressive adaptability. Most species avoided direct confrontation with humans unless absolutely necessary. Admiral Reed finally sighed. We need more information. Send a reconnaissance probe to the coordinates. Let's see what we're dealing with before we commit our forces. Before anyone could respond, a new development caught their attention. The holographic display flickered, and another transmission came through. This one was unencrypted and garbled, but still decipherable. They're coming. A panicked alien voice screamed through the speakers. No one can stop them. We need. The message cut off abruptly, leaving behind an ominous silence. Carter felt a chill run down her spine. Whoever had sent the message was clearly in mortal danger, and if their enemy was truly unstoppable, the consequences could ripple across the galaxy. Admiral, Carter said firmly, we can't wait for a probe. This is time-sensitive. If the message is real, every second counts. Reed hesitated, his expression torn between caution and duty. You're volunteering for this mission. Yes, Carter replied without hesitation. If it's a trap, I'll deal with it. But if it's real, we might be the only chance they have. The room buzzed again, but this time with a different energy. Carter's resolve had shifted the mood. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to act in the face of uncertainty. Very well, Reed said at last. You'll take the Vanguard fleet. Minimal personnel, high firepower. This isn't a rescue mission yet. It's reconnaissance. If the situation is as dire as they say, report back immediately. Carter nodded. Understood. As the meeting adjourned, Carter stood by the large viewport overlooking Earth. She couldn't shake the feeling that this mission was bigger than any of them realized. In the depths of space, something was waiting for humanity. Something desperate enough to call for help. Something dangerous enough to call the Deathworlders. As the fleet prepared to launch, the mysterious coordinates glowed on every ship's navigation system. Whatever lay ahead, humanity was ready to face it head-on. The call to action. The Vanguard fleet gleamed under the artificial light of Earth's orbital docks. Dozens of sleek, heavily armed ships, each designed to survive the harshest conditions the galaxy could offer, waited for the command to depart. Engineers, technicians, and soldiers moved with purpose, their faces reflecting a mix of focus and apprehension. Commander Elisa Carter stood on the bridge of the ESS Dauntless, the flagship of the fleet. She observed the final preparations through the reinforced glass viewport. Beyond the flurry of activity, Earth hung like a jewel in the void, its oceans and continents a stark reminder of what they were leaving behind and what they were fighting to protect. Status report, Carter said, her tone steady. Fleet is at 95% readiness, replied Lieutenant Mason, her second in command. Final weapon calibrations are in progress, and all navigation systems are synced to the alien coordinates. Carter nodded. Good. Ensure everyone knows this mission is strictly reconnaissance until I say otherwise. No unnecessary risks. Mason hesitated before speaking again. Commander, do you think this is real? The distress signal, the call for Deathworlders, or are we walking into a trap? Carter didn't answer immediately. She turned her gaze back to Earth, her mind racing with the possibilities. A trap was plausible. Humanity's reputation wasn't spotless, and there were species who'd love to see the Deathworlders humbled. But the desperation in the alien voices had felt too raw, too real. Truthfully, Lieutenant, I don't know, Carter admitted. But if there's even a chance it's real, we have to act. If not us, then who? Mason straightened. Understood, Commander. As the final countdown began, a secure communication came through from the United Earth Council. The face of Admiral Jonas Reed appeared on the screen. His expression was stern but carried a weight of trust. Commander Carter, Reed began, you've been chosen for this mission because you embody what humanity stands for: resilience, courage, and the willingness to adapt. I won't lie to you. This is a gamble. But if anyone can handle what's out there, it's you and the Vanguard fleet. Carter saluted. We won't let you down, Admiral. Reed's expression softened slightly. I hope not. Remember, this isn't just about Earth. If what they're facing is as dangerous as they claim, it could threaten the entire galaxy. Good luck, Commander. Reed out. The screen blinked off, leaving Carter alone with her thoughts. Moments later, the fleet began its departure sequence. Engines roared to life, and the ships moved in perfect unison, their formation a testament to the rigorous training of their crews. As they crossed the threshold of Earth's gravity well, Carter's voice echoed across the fleet's communication channels. This is Commander Carter. Today, we embark on a mission unlike any other. We're venturing into the unknown, answering a call for help from those who fear us as much as they need us. We don't know what we'll find, but one thing is certain. Whatever lies ahead, we face it together. Stay sharp, stay strong, and remember, we are Deathworlders. We are humanity. A chorus of affirmations came through the comms, a collective voice of determination and unity. The journey to the alien coordinates was tense. The fleet traveled at faster than light speeds, but the vast distance stretched time and tested patience. On board the Dauntless, Carter spent the hours reviewing the data from the distress signal. The message had been sent on a frequency rarely used by modern civilizations. It was almost ancient, as if the senders had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy for centuries. The cryptic nature of the words lingered in her mind. Only the Deathworlders can save us. Why had they chosen humanity? What kind of enemy would drive a species to call on the galaxy's most feared survivors? Her thoughts were interrupted by an alert from Mason. "Commander, we're approaching the destination. Sensors are picking up. Debris fields." "On screen," Carter ordered. The main display lit up with a view of the alien coordinates. The sight was chilling. Hundreds of shattered ships floated in the void, their twisted remains drifting aimlessly. Fires burned dimly in the vacuum, and chunks of metal and organic matter littered the space. "Zoom in," Carter said, her voice sharp. The image magnified, revealing markings on the wreckage. Alien symbols and designs from at least a dozen different species. It was a graveyard, a silent testament to a battle fought and lost. "Any signs of life?" Carter asked. "Scanning," Mason replied. A moment later, his face paled. "Commander, I'm detecting faint signals. Survivors." Carter's heart raced. This was no trap. This was something far worse. "Prepare rescue teams," she commanded, "and keep an eye on those sensors. If whoever did this is still out there, we'll be ready." As the fleet began to move into the debris field, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The message had brought them here, but the true danger was still unknown. For now, humanity's resolve would be tested in the most unforgiving part of the galaxy, and Carter was determined not to fail. Entering alien space, the Vanguard fleet moved cautiously through the debris field, their powerful lights casting long shadows over the shattered remains of alien vessels. Every ship's sensor array was running at full capacity, scanning for movement, energy signatures, or anything that could indicate an active threat. On the bridge of the ESS Dauntless, Commander Elisa Carter studied the sensor readings with grim focus. Survivors had been detected, but the faint signals were scattered and weak. Whatever had annihilated this fleet hadn't left much behind. "Report," Carter ordered, her voice calm but firm. "Rescue teams are deploying drones to pinpoint life signs," Lieutenant Mason said. "No hostile activity detected so far, but the energy readings from some of this wreckage are strange." Carter frowned. "Define strange." Mason hesitated. "It's fluctuating, like the remnants of a massive energy discharge, but it's not consistent with any known weapons technology." "Keep scanning," Carter said, "and make sure all ships stay in formation. If something's out there, I don't want us caught off guard." The first rescue team reported back within minutes. They had found survivors, barely. The image on the screen was haunting. A group of aliens huddled inside the broken hull of a massive vessel. Their bodies were thin, their faces marked with burns and injuries that told a story of desperation. "Open a channel," Carter said. A flickering holographic projection of the alien leader appeared on the bridge. The creature was insectoid, its exoskeleton cracked and scorched. Its mandibles trembled as it spoke, the words translated into English by the ship's eye. "You are the Deathworlders?" the alien asked, its voice weak but filled with a glimmer of hope. "We are," Carter confirmed. "Commander Elisa Carter of the United Earth Vanguard Fleet. Who are you, and what happened here?" The alien hesitated, glancing nervously at the other survivors behind it. Finally, it spoke. "I am Kareth, envoy of the Canthar Collective. We sent the distress signal. We had no choice. They are coming. They will destroy everything." "Who?" Carter pressed. "Who is coming?" Kareth's mandibles clicked anxiously. "We do not know their true name. They are machines, an ancient fleet, older than any of our civilizations. They awaken every few millennia to cleanse the galaxy. They destroyed us, just as they have destroyed countless others before." Carter exchanged a glance with Mason. This was worse than she'd imagined. "Why call us?" she asked. "Why humans?" Kareth's voice grew quieter, as if admitting the truth was painful. "Because you are different. You thrive in chaos. You survive where others perish. We feared you, but we knew only Deathworlders could stand a chance against them. As Kareth's words sank in, an alarm blared across the Dauntless. "Commander," Mason shouted. "We've got movement, multiple contacts inbound." The main screen lit up, showing a fleet of dark, angular ships emerging from the shadows of the debris field. Their design was unlike anything humanity or the alien survivors had ever encountered. Sleek and silent, the ships moved with unnatural precision, their surfaces shimmering as if they were alive. "Defensive positions," Carter ordered. "Bring weapons online and hold the line." The Vanguard fleet sprang into action, their ships forming a protective barrier around the survivors. Energy shields flared to life, and weapon systems locked onto the incoming enemy. "Commander," Mason said urgently, "those ships, they're scanning us. It's like they're studying us." "Let them," Carter said coldly. "If they want to pick a fight, they'll regret it." The first volley came without warning. The enemy ships fired beams of energy that cut through the debris like a blade through water. The Vanguard fleet returned fire, their advanced weaponry lighting up the darkness of space. But it quickly became clear that this was no ordinary enemy. The alien ships adapted to the attacks, their shimmering surfaces absorbing and deflecting damage in ways that defied known physics. "Commander, our weapons are barely making a dent," Mason shouted. "Stay focused," Carter barked. "Find their weak points. Every machine has one." Amid the chaos, the alien survivors sent out a distress signal of their own, calling for help from any nearby forces. Carter knew it was a desperate gamble. There was no guarantee anyone else would answer. But as the battle raged on, something strange happened. The enemy ships seemed to hesitate, their movements slowing for just a moment. "Commander," Mason said, his voice laced with confusion, "they're scanning us again. But this time, it's different." "What do you mean?" "They're focusing on the Dauntless. It's almost like they're curious." Carter's mind raced. Why would an ancient, merciless machine fleet hesitate? What about the Dauntless had caught their attention? Before she could find an answer, one of the enemy ships broke formation and moved closer. Its shimmering surface pulsed with energy, and a low-frequency signal began to hum across the fleet's comm channels. "Incoming transmission," Mason said. "It's not in any known language." Carter stared at the screen. "Play it." The sound that followed was haunting. A deep, resonant voice that seemed to echo in their minds as much as their ears. The translation eye struggled to keep up, spitting out fragments of meaning. "Organic, anomaly, uncalculated, resistance, observe, adapt." The enemy wasn't just a mindless machine fleet. It was intelligent. And now it was interested in humanity. "Commander," Mason said, his face pale, "what do we do?" Carter's jaw tightened. "We fight. Whatever it's planning, we're not going to let it finish." As the Dauntless prepared for another wave, Carter couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just been added to the machine's calculations and that the true battle was only beginning. The survivors. The battle raged on, each exchange of fire a deadly dance between the Vanguard fleet and the mysterious enemy ships. The alien survivors aboard the scattered wreckage watched with a mix of fear and awe as the Deathworlders, the humans they had so often whispered about in fear, fought with unmatched ferocity. On the ESS Dauntless, Commander Elisa Carter analyzed the tactical display. The enemy fleet's movements were strange, almost fluid, like a swarm adapting to every move her fleet made. But she noticed something else. Each time one of their ships was destroyed, the others shifted their formation, almost as if mourning their loss. "Lieutenant Mason," Carter called, her tone sharp, "what do we know about their coordination? Are they sharing a central command, or is this individual decision-making?" Mason worked furiously at his console, sweat beading on his forehead. "Commander, their coordination is too precise to be independent. It's likely they're operating under a hive mind system or a single AI core. If we can disrupt it, we might throw them into disarray." Carter nodded. "Focus all sensor sweeps on finding that core. It's our best shot at turning the tide. Meanwhile, rescue operations continued amidst the chaos. The Vanguard's drones pulled more survivors from the wreckage, bringing them aboard the fleet's medical frigates. Kareth, the insectoid envoy, was brought to the Dauntless, escorted to the bridge under heavy guard. The alien's battered form trembled as it stepped into the human ship's control center. Its wide, multifaceted eyes scanned the room, taking in the humans who worked with calm precision despite the ongoing battle. "You fight differently," Kareth said, its voice buzzing through the translator. "We fight to win," Carter replied without looking away from the tactical display. "Now tell me, what else do you know about these machines? Anything could help." Kareth hesitated, its mandibles clicking nervously. "They are called the Revenants, machines built by an ancient race that no longer exists. Their purpose was to protect their creators, but when the creators vanished, the machines decided all organics were threats to the galaxy's stability." "Typical rogue AI," Mason muttered. Kareth continued, "Every time they awaken, they destroy civilizations and leave. We thought they would never return, but something woke them earlier than expected. Something different." Carter's attention snapped to Kareth. "What woke them?" "We don't know," the alien admitted, lowering its head in shame. "But they've grown more curious. This is the first time they've hesitated. The first time they've observed instead of outright annihilating." Carter's mind raced. If the Revenants were hesitating, it meant there was something about humanity, or perhaps the Deathworlders as a concept, that intrigued them. Before she could press further, a sharp alarm sounded across the bridge. Mason's voice was urgent. "Commander, I've located what might be their central core. It's positioned at the heart of the debris field, using the wreckage as cover." Carter stared at the display, her resolve hardening. "That's it. If we can take it out, we might be able to disrupt their fleet." "Commander," Kareth interjected, its tone panicked. "You don't understand. The Revenant core isn't just a command system. It's the source of their intelligence. If you destroy it, you may provoke them into something far worse." Carter turned to Kareth, her expression unyielding. "Worse than wiping out every organic species in the galaxy. I'll take that risk." Kareth recoiled slightly but said nothing more. The Vanguard fleet shifted its focus, forming a protective wedge around the Dauntless as they advanced deeper into the debris field. The enemy ships responded instantly, converging to protect their core with frightening speed. "All ships, concentrate fire on their front lines," Carter commanded. "We need to break through. Focus on disabling their mobility. Take out engines and propulsion first." The fleet's precision was relentless. Human ships darted through the chaos, exploiting weaknesses in the Revenants' formations. Explosions erupted across the battlefield, the void filled with the remnants of shattered vessels. But as they pushed closer to the core, the Revenants' behavior changed. Their ships began to attack more aggressively, sacrificing themselves to shield the central structure. "They're getting desperate," Mason said, his voice filled with both awe and concern. "Good," Carter replied. "It means we're getting close." Finally, the Dauntless and its escort ships broke through the enemy line. The core loomed before them, a massive, pulsating construct surrounded by a shell of fragmented alien wreckage. Its surface shimmered like the enemy ships, but radiated an almost organic energy. "Target the core," Carter ordered. "Fire everything we've got." The Dauntless unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy weapons, each strike hitting the core with devastating force. The Revenant fleet reacted violently, their remaining ships converging in a frantic effort to defend their heart. But just as the core's outer shell began to crack, a low-frequency pulse rippled through the debris field. Every human and alien on the bridge felt it, not in their ears, but in their minds. "Commander," Mason said, his voice shaking, "the core it's communicating. It's sending out a signal." Carter stared at the display, watching as the Revenant ships stopped their attack. They hovered in place, as if awaiting orders. The core's signal came through the comms, a single, haunting message. Adaptation complete. Experimentation concluded. Phase 2 begins. The Revenant ships began to retreat, vanishing into the darkness of space as quickly as they had appeared. The battlefield fell silent, but the implications of the message hung heavy in the air. "Commander," Kareth said, its voice trembling, "you didn't stop them. You awakened them." Carter clenched her fists, her jaw tightening. Whatever humanity had just done, the Revenants were no longer just a threat to alien civilizations. They had noticed the Deathworlders, and the real war was about to begin. The enemy revealed. The Vanguard fleet regrouped at the edge of the debris field, the quiet of space, a sharp contrast to the chaos they had just survived. On the ESS Dauntless, Commander Elisa Carter paced the bridge, her thoughts racing. The Revenants had retreated, but their message echoed in her mind. Adaptation complete. Experimentation concluded. Phase 2 begins. "What do they mean by Phase 2? Lieutenant Mason asked, breaking the silence. "It means we didn't win," Carter replied, her tone grim. "We've been categorized, studied. Whatever comes next will be worse." In the briefing room, Carter met with her senior officers and Kareth, the Canthar envoy. The holographic display showed the data gathered during the battle, including detailed scans of the Revenant core. "Let's start with what we know," Carter began. "The Revenants are a machine fleet created by a long-dead civilization. They're designed to cleanse the galaxy of organic life. But this time, something's different. Kareth, you mentioned they were awoken early. Any idea how?" Kareth's mandibles clicked nervously. "We have theories. Some of the newer species in the galaxy have been experimenting with forbidden technologies. Artificial intelligence, subdimensional energy manipulation. It's possible one of these experiments triggered the Revenant sensors." "Fantastic," Mason muttered. "Someone poked the hornet's nest, and now we're all on their radar." Carter nodded. "But that doesn't explain why they're acting differently. Historically, they wipe out civilizations without hesitation. Now, they're observing, testing, adapting." She turned to Kareth. "Has this ever happened before?" The alien hesitated, its body language tense. "Not in recorded history. The Revenants are not known for curiosity. If they've changed, it's because they see you, Deathworlders, as an anomaly." Back on the bridge, the fleet's scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the Revenants' behavior. One breakthrough came from the scans of the core. "Commander," said Dr. Evelyn Torres, the lead scientist aboard the fleet, "we've uncovered something strange about the core's energy signature. It's not just mechanical, it's biological." "Biological?" Carter asked, leaning forward. "Yes," Torres confirmed. "The Revenants aren't purely machines. Their AI integrates with organic components, possibly harvested from their victims. That's why their adaptations are so advanced. They're evolving using the very civilizations they destroy." The revelation hit the room like a thunderclap. The Revenants weren't just killers. They were predators, consuming and integrating the strengths of other species to perfect themselves. "That's why they retreated," Carter said, realization dawning. "They didn't lose. They got what they wanted, data on us." As the implications sank in, a new signal arrived on the fleet's sensors. It was faint but unmistakable, a Revenant transmission. "Patch it through," Carter ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing an image of the Revenant core. Its pulsating, shimmering surface seemed to shift, almost as if it were alive. A voice, cold and emotionless, filled the room. "Deathworlders," it said, "you are unique, resilient, resourceful. These traits are valuable. You have been cataloged. Your strengths will be incorporated into the next evolution." "Not if we stop you," Carter said, her voice defiant. The Revenant's reply was chilling. "You cannot stop inevitability. Your defiance is an anomaly, but even anomalies are subject to adaptation. Prepare for Phase 2. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Phase 2, Mason said finally. Whatever that means, it's not going to be good. Carter stood, her mind already calculating their next move. We need to get this information back to Earth and the Galactic Council. If the Revenants are evolving, every civilization in the galaxy needs to know. But Commander, Mason said hesitantly, what if the Revenants are baiting us? What if this is just another test? Carter met his gaze, her expression hard. Then we'll adapt too. They think they've figured us out, but they have no idea what humanity is capable of. As the fleet prepared to leave the debris field, Kareth approached Carter. You are brave, Deathworlder, the alien said, its voice quieter now. But bravery alone may not be enough. The Revenants are unlike any enemy you have faced. Carter regarded Kareth for a moment before replying. Maybe. But we're not like anyone they've faced either. With the fleet's engines humming to life, the Vanguard began its journey back to Earth. But Carter knew this was only the beginning. The Revenants weren't just a threat. They were a mirror reflecting the darkest possibilities of humanity's own technology and ambition. As the stars blurred around the Dauntless, Carter made a silent vow. The Revenants might have started the war, but humanity would make sure it ended. The Deathworlders' strategy. The journey back to Earth was tense. The Vanguard fleet traveled at full speed, their ships bristling with weaponry and sensors scanning for any sign of pursuit. The data they carried was too important to lose. Humanity's first encounter with the Revenants was a warning, and Commander Elisa Carter knew they had to prepare for what was coming. In the war room aboard the ESS Dauntless, Carter stood before a team of her top officers, scientists, and strategists. The holographic display in the center of the room projected the Revenant core and the fleet's scans of its behavior. We can't wait for them to come to us, Carter began, her voice firm. The Revenants are adapting, learning from every engagement. If we sit idle, they'll return stronger than before. We need to strike first. Strike first, Lieutenant Mason asked, his brow furrowed. Commander, we barely survived the last encounter. Their fleet outnumbers and outguns us by orders of magnitude. True, Carter admitted, but they're predictable in one way. They think of themselves as inevitable. That arrogance is their weakness. They'll underestimate what we can do with a focused, unconventional strategy. Part 6. The Deathworlders' strategy. The journey back to Earth was tense. The Vanguard fleet traveled at full speed, their ships bristling with weaponry and sensors scanning for any sign of pursuit. The data they carried was too important to lose. Humanity's first encounter with the Revenants was a warning, and Commander Elisa Carter knew they had to prepare for what was coming. In the war room aboard the ESS Dauntless, Carter stood before a team of her top officers, scientists, and strategists. The holographic display in the center of the room projected the Revenant core and the fleet's scans of its behavior. We can't wait for them to come to us, Carter began, her voice firm. The Revenants are adapting, learning from every engagement. If we sit idle, they'll return stronger than before. We need to strike first. Strike first, Lieutenant Mason asked, his brow furrowed. Commander, we barely survived the last encounter. Their fleet outnumbers and outguns us by orders of magnitude. True, Carter admitted, but they're predictable in one way. They think of themselves as inevitable. That arrogance is their weakness. They'll underestimate what we can do with a focused, unconventional strategy. Step 1. Understanding the enemy. Dr. Evelyn Torres, the fleet's lead scientist, took the floor. Our scans of the Revenant core revealed something critical. While their ships are adaptive and resilient, their command network relies on synchronization with the core. If we can disrupt that network, even for a short time, it could destabilize their fleet. How do we disrupt a network that's sophisticated? Mason asked. Torres brought up a schematic of the Revenant core's energy patterns. Their system uses a hybrid of quantum computing and biological interfaces. It's incredibly advanced, but it's also fragile. We've developed a prototype EMP device, one that emits a burst designed to overload both mechanical and organic systems simultaneously. Carter's eyes narrowed. How effective is it? It's untested, Torres admitted. But if deployed at the heart of their fleet, it could cause widespread chaos. Step 2. Drawing them out. Carter turned to Mason. To deploy the EMP, we'll need to lure the revenants into a trap. They've already shown they're curious about us. We use that to our advantage. Kareth, the Canthar envoy, interjected. You mean you'll bait them? That's suicide. Not if we do it right, Carter replied. We leak a signal, a false beacon mimicking the Revenant Core's energy signature. If they're as protective of their core as we've seen, they'll come running. And when they do, Mason said, catching on, we hit them with the EMP and target their most vulnerable ships. Exactly, Carter said. It won't destroy their fleet, but it'll give us the upper hand long enough to deliver a decisive blow. Step 3. The final blow. Torres brought up the final phase of the plan. If the EMP works, it will temporarily sever their fleet's connection to the core. That's when we strike directly at the core itself, destroy it, and their fleet collapses. Kareth's mandibles clicked nervously. You're playing with fire. If this fails, the Revenants will see you not as an anomaly, but as a true threat. They will unleash their full force. Good, Carter said coldly. Let them. If they want to call us Deathworlders, they'll learn exactly what that means. The fleet began preparations immediately. Engineers worked around the clock to outfit the EMP device onto a stealth frigate, while the rest of the ships armed themselves for what could be their final battle. The crew's morale was a mixture of fear and determination. Carter moved through the ship, speaking with her crew, ensuring they were ready. Her presence was calm and steady, the anchor everyone needed in the face of the unknown. The bait is set. A few days later, the Vanguard fleet reached an empty star system on the outskirts of known space. There they deployed the false beacon, a carefully crafted signal designed to mimic the Revenant Core's energy signature. Signal is live, Mason reported. If they're out there, they'll come. The wait was agonizing. Hours passed with no response, and tension grew on the Dauntless. But then, the sensors lit up. Commander, we've got incoming contacts, Mason said. Revenant ships, dozens of them. They're heading straight for the beacon. Carter's jaw tightened. All ships, hold position. Stay cloaked until I give the order. The Revenant fleet arrived in formation, their sleek, dark ships moving with eerie precision. They surrounded the beacon, scanning it as if trying to determine its authenticity. They're taking the bait, Mason said. Wait for it, Carter replied. Her eyes locked on the display. The Revenants began to close in on the beacon, their ships forming the defensive perimeter around what they believed was their core. Now, Carter ordered, deploy the EMP. The stealth frigate launched the EMP device, its engines burning bright as it darted toward the heart of the Revenant fleet. The Revenants detected the approach and opened fire, their beams slicing through the void. Shield the frigate, Carter commanded. The Vanguard fleet unleashed a barrage of covering fire, distracting the Revenants long enough for the frigate to deliver its payload. The EMP detonated in a blinding flash, and the Revenant fleet seemed to shudder. Their movements faltered, their precision lost. For the first time, the machines looked disoriented. All ships, engage, Carter ordered. The Vanguard fleet surged forward, their weapons tearing into the Revenants' disorganized formation. One by one, the enemy ships fell, their adaptive technology useless without the Core's guidance. Commander, the Core is exposed, Mason shouted. Carter didn't hesitate. Focus fire on the Core. End this now. The Dauntless and its allies unleashed everything they had. The Revenant Core, once impervious, began to crack under the relentless assault. As the Core erupted in a cascade of light and energy, the remaining Revenant ships froze, their connections severed. They drifted lifelessly, no longer a threat. The battle was over, but Carter knew the war wasn't. As the Vanguard fleet regrouped, she stared out at the remnants of the enemy fleet. "We won today," she said quietly. "But this was just a battle. The Revenants will adapt again, and we'll be ready." Humanity have faced the galaxy's greatest threat and emerged victorious. For now. But Carter's resolve was unshaken. If the Revenants wanted a fight, they would find that the Deathworlders were always ready to adapt, to survive, and to win. Victory and a warning. The shattered remnants of the Revenant fleet drifted in the silent void. The Vanguard fleet, though battered and scarred, held formation as they scanned for any remaining threats. On the bridge of the ESS Dauntless, Commander Elisa Carter stood still, her gaze fixed on the dying light of the Revenant core. The explosion had been monumental. The energy released a violent burst that had illuminated the starless expanse for light years. And yet, even as the core was destroyed, a nagging unease settled in Carter's chest. The Revenants weren't defeated. Not truly. "Status report," Carter commanded, her voice steady. Lieutenant Mason was the first to respond. "No active threats detected. The remaining Revenant ships are offline. No movement, no power. It's like we've severed their mind completely." Dr. Evelyn Torres interjected from the science station. "We're picking up residual energy signatures from the core. It's unlike anything we've seen before. There's a pattern to it, almost like an encoded message." Carter's eyes narrowed. "Can you decode it?" "I'll try," Torres said, her fingers flying over her console. "But whatever this is, it's far beyond our current understanding of technology." As the fleet began recovery operations, rescuing survivors, and tending to the injured, Kareth, the Canthar envoy, approached Carter. The alien's insectoid features were tense, its mandibles clicking nervously. "You should have left the Revenants alone," Kareth said. "Destroying the core may have won you this battle, but it has also ensured their focus on you. The Revenants never forget. They will return, and next time, they will be ready." Carter met Kareth's gaze with a calm intensity. "They've underestimated us before. Let them come. Humanity thrives under pressure." Kareth shook its head, the movement slow and deliberate. "You don't understand what you've awakened. The Revenants don't just adapt, they evolve. And now, they see you as the apex predator. They will stop at nothing to claim your strengths for themselves." In the days that followed, the fleet's engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the aftermath of the battle. The Revenant core had left behind a wealth of data, encrypted fragments of its network, pieces of its biological components, and traces of its immense power source. Torres called Carter to the science lab, her expression a mixture of excitement and concern. "Commander, I think I've cracked part of the message left by the Revenant core." Carter leaned over the display. "What does it say?" Torres hesitated. "It's not a direct message. It's more like a declaration, a statement of intent." She cleared her throat and read the translated fragments aloud. "The Deathworlders are exceptional. They thrive in chaos, defy extinction, and endure where others fall. They are a challenge worthy of assimilation. Phase 3 begins." The words sent a chill through the room. Carter straightened, her jaw tightening. "They're not retreating. They're evolving to face us." Back on Earth, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Carter and her team presented their findings to the galaxy's leaders, warning them of the Revenants' growing threat. Holographic projections of the battle played on massive screens, showing the destruction caused by the Revenant fleet and humanity's hard-fought victory. "You're saying we didn't destroy them?" one counselor asked, his voice laced with disbelief. "We destroyed their core," Carter replied. "But the Revenants aren't bound to a single location. They're an intelligence spread across the galaxy. This was just one fragment of their network." Another counselor leaned forward. "And you believe they'll come back?" Carter's voice was steady. "Not believe. No, they've marked us as a threat and a resource. The next time they come, it won't be to test us. It will be to consume us. Despite the grim warnings, humanity's victory sent ripples through the galactic community. Species that had long viewed the Deathworlders with suspicion began to reconsider their stance. Reports flooded in of alien envoys seeking alliances, their governments realizing that humanity's defiance might be the galaxy's only hope against the revenants. Carter, however, remained focused. She knew the battle wasn't over. It was only the beginning of a much larger war. Back aboard the Dauntless, she gathered her crew for a final address. Today, we faced one of the galaxy's oldest and deadliest threats, she began, her voice carrying across the ship's comm channels. We fought, we adapted, and we won. But make no mistake, this is not the end. The revenants are watching, learning, and preparing. So must we. She paused, her gaze steady as she looked at her crew. We are Deathworlders. We come from a world that has taught us to survive against all odds. If the revenants want to test us, they'll learn what it means to face humanity. We will be ready. The crew erupted in applause, their spirits bolstered by her unwavering determination. As the fleet departed the star system, leaving the wreckage of the Revenant Corps behind, Carter stood alone on the bridge, staring out at the endless void. She knew the revenants would return, stronger and more dangerous than ever. But humanity was ready to meet them. And when they did, the galaxy would see why Deathworlders were the last thing the revenants should have provoked.